just the big thing is to go that. No String is asking, wow, did you get fitness and strength? Like, how did you get fitness and strength? I don't even think they could level up. So, there's a number of ways you can level up fitness and strength. One is you can go here and choose health, exercise, and choose this type of stuff and just do a lot. As you'll notice, all of these are empty. I don't do that much. I think technically we did 1 or 2 days of fitness when we had a tropical storm show up right at the beginning. Since then, we have not done any exercise. Another way is for, like, strength. How often do you get ammo from zombies? If I take the time to take the guns off the zombie and take the bullets out of them, it doesn't take that long to find decent ammo. Like, every so often you'll find one that has, like, 5 or 6 shotgun shells and a shotgun and all that. I've gotten to the lazy point, I don't even bother picking them up anymore. It's just, I don't care about going out of my way for the guns. But, it's like, the primary way I am gaining stats is, one, if you're carrying, I think it's like over 60% of your carry capacity, you will slowly gain strength. Otherwise, just fighting zombies will gain you strength and fitness over time. Come on. So, my gym is their face. But keep in mind, we started this character, we have been alive for 10 months, 5 days. So to tell you how long it takes you to level up that much fitness and strength, that's less than a point per month. Like it's getting almost the point of half a point per month. So you get the idea of how slow that thing moves. That's part of the reason I say this is a bad build. If you can imagine, I have killed 44,500 zombies to get 6 fitness and 7 strength. Now, you can just also start at that level of fitness and strength, so generally speaking, if you're thinking about this as a min-max character, which to a certain degree it is, by the time you start min-maxing, you could already be fully leveled otherwise and only have some some other penalties that really don't matter. Yeah, No Strings is like, I started at 8 fitness, 1 year later I'm at 8.1 fitness. Yep. Keep in mind, like I said, we kill so many zombies. Another thing that helps is I do have fast learner. So like I said, most of this is default apocalypse settings. Some of the only differences, we've cranked up the zombie population, peak day is 1, the helicopter is set to sometimes, which is 2 or 3 times a month, and the respawn has been set to 0, which means, like, the time has been set to 0, which turns it off. Alright, so we have a thunderstorm in 5 days. That kind of sucks. Because that means when the thunderstorm rolls in, I'm probably going to be knocked off for a day or 2 from being able to progress towards Rosewood. But it is in 5 days, so we got some time to make some actual progress. And you'll have people who talk up and down that's like, this weapon is, you know, good, this weapon is bad so far as categories and all that go. Generally speaking, all the categories of weapon in the game are good. Some have places they definitely shine over others, they all have their niches, but they're all good. The one I usually hear people badmouth the most is they'll be like, oh, short blades are so dangerous, using a short blade is basically, you know, basically suicide. You know, they're so terrible, why would anyone use short blades? You'll notice my favorite weapon that I've been using in these 44,500 kills is a short blade. It is a hunting knife. The magic of the short blade is they take almost no stamina to use, so with any real fitness, you regen stamina faster than you use it with them. So, when you're fighting a pack of, 100 zombies and you go, oh crap, I have an axe, an axe short, it will one-shot a bunch of zombies. You're only going to get through like maybe 20 zombies before you're exerted. So, that's where the short blade comes in. You snap out your hunting knife, and you just keep on grinding those zombies down till they're all dead. And they're honestly not bad. Like, if I pull out my hunting knife, dead. That's an execution. And if I don't execute, at this point it takes me 2 hits most zombies to kill, and occasionally 3 hits. Well, that was an execution, so that doesn't count. I'm trying to deliberately not execute, so I need to move. Oh yeah, no, it's an animation. Like, I've heard people get injured. So yeah, see, 2 stabs. So people who say like short blades are unusable and terrible, they just don't know what they're talking about. Now, I have had people I 100% trust tell me that they have been injured using that execution animation. Like Royal with Cheese has like said, I have personally had it, and I would absolutely without question believe that. Because Royal with Cheese is someone who, very credible person, he won't say something unless it's actually a thing. That said, I have done this literally thousands of times, and I've never gotten hurt. I haven't had like my clothing get injured. I haven't had me get injured. I have 2 running theories of what's happened, and why like some people have had problems. Actually, let me take that back, because today introduced a new running theory. So 3 running theories on what's happening that people got injured doing that. My first running theory is it was a previous build of the game that could happen, and that they've since fixed it. That's theory 1, and that's the theory I have the strongest, personally, like I have the most support in believing is a thing. That, you know, there was some version of the game that sometimes you get bit doing the execution animation, and since has been fixed, patched out, whatever. The second theory I have is there's some debuff, whether it's being super tired, super exerted, some combination of the above, whatever it is, that when you have that present, the animation is slowed down enough you get bit. I haven't personally been able to recreate that, though I've tried, but that would be my next guess. Is that maybe it's you're super drunk, you're tired, you're exerted, whatever, some combination happens, or one specific one happens, that suddenly you're in trouble. And then my last one is desync in multiplayer. That maybe there's some kind of desync in multiplayer that causes it. That said, I don't think... I should check with Royal with Cheese if it happened to him in multiplayer. I very much doubt it. Yeah, like a right hand injury might be it. I could see that one, definitely. But you get the ideas. Either A, there's some combination of circumstances that causes you to take an injury, like your animation speed slowed down enough you get hurt, or B, was a previous version. Because to me, that looks like a scripted animation. It's not, because it's not, every time I execute in that pattern, they always do the grab like they're going to bite me. 100% of the time. It's only when I come at like a weird angle or they're not ready or stuff like that that doesn't happen. And that would be like a different angle and all that. So my hunch is that's a scripted animation at this point. Because I've also noticed when I'm exhausted and exerted, that animation still seems to go at the normal speed. So that's the reason why I personally am leaning on, you know, version 4.1 point whatever whatever, or 4.0 point whatever whatever. There was a bug that got you killed doing that, and that's since gone. That said, who knows? One of these days I'll stab a zombie, get bit in the neck, and go, huh, maybe I'm wrong. But till then, you know, I'll just keep collecting data that supports my hypothesis that it's resolved. And by that I mean we kill a hell of a lot of zombies and be okay. And like I said, I totally 100% believe Cheese that he died that way. 100% believe it. I'm just thinking it was like a version or two ago that was a problem. It could be a mod bug. I actually hadn't thought about that, but I'm not sure why that would be, but sure. I could see that maybe. You'll also notice, because people will be like, oh no, like, I'll get killed in a pack of zombies because of the execute animation. Normally, you cannot execute while in a pack of zombies. So, like, if I watch here, if I get one of these too close, we'll push. And there isn't, like, a range thing to it. Hey, Red Sloth, how's it going? It's not like a range thing. Because you see, I push, Now he's alone. Oh, actually, do we have another one? That was probably still falling down. But yeah, basically if another zombie aggroed, we'll shove instead of doing a stab or a execute. Versus if it's just the one aggroed, we'll execute instead of shoving. Or stab or execute instead of shoving. If you shove a zombie while holding a short blade, it usually means there's another zombie nearby. But yeah, no, it's going really good. We did a couple hours of some multiplayer. That was good. I mean, before that we did some of this, then we did the multiplayer, now we're back to this, which is pretty typical for Tuesday. I'll do whatever run I'm doing until the others are ready to play, then we'll hop in. Hey, Moon! Yep, that was one of the people we were playing with, was Moonwitch. It was Moonwitch, Nirida, and Jet. Mashin Kimi is the name he has on Twitch. Man, as I mentioned before, like, where they kept calling me, Alrighty, Gravy, you sleep well. But where they called me Marcus quite a few times, that isn't my name. That's Marcus's. I used to RP with Moonwitch, as well as other people, but Moonwitch is the only one of that group who I RP'd with. And so that's where I met them, and the character I played as when I was RPing is Marcus Soft, which was a... he started out as a news reporter for an in-game newspaper, so like I'd actually go find the story, write it up. Others in the game could actually go in character to read the news, to learn what's going on in the city, because there's rules against using, what is it? What's the word for it? I'm blanking on the word for it, where you have information your character should not have and you use it in RP, which is a big no-no. It doesn't matter. Meta, yes. Thank you. Yeah, so allow... Yep. Yeah, so it was a way that people could learn about other events happening in the city in character without metagaming. Because the idea was my character would go out of their way, and when I say my character, there's a whole company behind it. It wasn't the only one doing it. But we would go out, find the information of like, oh, there was a bank robbery, or oh, there's a this or that, or a protest in the city, or whatever it was the thing was going on. And we would write up a story in character that you could pull up, because it's GTA, in character on your phone, and to like read the story, so that now your character could be informed about what was going on without having to always, you know, ask around and find out. Like a real person, you read the news once in a while. And thank you for the follow, Gorfy00, welcome to the stream. And it was cool. I had a lot of fun with it. But ultimately these days I don't really RP anymore. It's one of those things that it's one of those things you run into with a lot of games, where if you play it, that's what you play. You don't have time for other things. And that became quite a bit of a problem. Then there was, and this isn't a negative on the server, the direction the server was going, which was probably correct for a lot of the people playing it, wasn't really correct for what I was looking for in RP. So it was kind of like just a comment of things of like, okay, I'd really like to be playing other games as well, and I don't have the time to do that. And then on top of that, the server's going really heavy into cops and robbers, which is cool, and a lot of people have a great blast of that, but that's not what I'm looking for. Like, you know, playing Grand Theft Auto, there's already enough chasing people around, shooting each other, that kind of stuff. And granted, there's RP behind it, so it means more. But, still. And again, not a negative on the server. I think it's the right choice for server popularity and blah, 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 blah. But it was fun. That's actually where this channel started, was me doing that RP on channel for people who couldn't make it, you know, couldn't be awake. We had people in a group who couldn't be in town all the time, which is just RP for not online. So I was doing it so a bunch of them could play, and it's just like, oh, hey, like, I did the first stream, and I was like, yeah, I think I'll just keep doing this. And pretty much streamed every single day since, other than, like, I had a 1-week vacation I had scheduled from work before I started RPing. That was a little bit of travel. Otherwise, that's what started us, and then, you know, we played RimWorld. That was popular on the channel for a very long time. I was also playing Project Zomboid at the time, before it was cool. But, And that's actually what got our channel off of, and before it was cool as being sarcastic, just to be clear. Like, it was before there's any of the hype for multiplayer or any of that going on. I was just like, I like this game. I'm gonna go play it. And one day Trustin raided us. Got us, you know, got us affiliate because I had been very close and it was enough to push us over. And then Project Zomboid kept growing and growing on the channel. And then, you know, multiplayer dropped, and that was all good news for the channel. And it's been funny because, again, RimWorld is actually my big game so far as viewership before Project Zomboid. And honestly, as of this last week, and I'm probably taking RimWorld off the schedule entirely because it's just sadly not doing that well on Twitch right now, just in general, not even like my channel exclusively. Just the viewer counts and viewer time is down. So trying to figure out what I'm replacing it with. The brakes are pretty bad shape. A tree jumped out and got us. Like, you know those trees, you can't trust them. So we banged up our hood a little bit, and our brakes got a little roughed up. And it wasn't one of those things like distracted driving, whatever. I went to hit the button I wanted, and I kind of fat-fingered it. So instead of continuing to go straight, we turned a little bit to the right, and it put us right into a tree. Yeah, those trees are pretty shady. They really just don't like to leave you alone. I'd say they're all bark and no bite, but they definitely have bark and bite. They arbor hostility. I can do this a while, for the record. I don't normally do dad jokes, but you know, trees are pretty easy for the dad jokes. They were just pining for a fight. I'm trying to think of one to work with mahogany, but that is a pretty hard one to come up with one. I'm being real here. Sometimes trees can just be a birch. Yeah, except the poplar ones. The poplar trees are pretty cool. It has been a long time since I've done the execution animation where we left our knife behind. I think I had someone ask me, it's like, hey, as you gain short blade skill, do you do that less often where you let go of your knife after executing him? Well, again, probably confirmation bias type thing. It does feel like it's way less often. And that said, saying it does feel without actually doing the thing where it's like, hey, you know, we executed 100 and all that. Do you think they'll be adding another map? Probably not, Sergeant. Generally speaking, like, there is actually only one map to this game. And for those people new to the game, one of the things you'll probably notice, you'll be like, wait a second, but I get to choose between 4 maps when I start the game. The UI does a terrible job of explaining this, if I'm being honest. But when you start the game, you get your choice of 4 cities. You have Riverside, you have West Point, you have Rosewood, and you have Muldrow. You'll notice those are all on the same map. Those are all right here. When you're choosing those maps, you're not choosing what map you're on, you're choosing what part of what map you started. You notice we got Louisville up here. But yeah, this map is huge, so I don't think they'll ever make a second map. That said, I could certainly see them adding something here into this giant voided empty space of nothing. I could see them adding more down here. Redacted is down here. Yeah, down here is Redacted. Don't worry about it. We don't speak about Redacted. If I were to guess, I would see them putting something in this area next, or up in this giant monstrosity. Like, I could see them adding... I kind of don't want them to add bridges over here. They need to either have the bridges over here or over here, I think. I don't want them to have multiple routes, because one of the things I like is I do like that this is the east-west choke point. If you want to go to the east side of the map, congratulations, here's where you cross, or you go all the way around to the trees, which going through the forest is never a good time. Yep. Yep, don't worry about Redacted. It's not there. We don't speak about Redacted. But yeah, the map is absurdly large. So the idea isn't to have multiple maps. The idea is to have one super rich involved map. That said, one of the things they have been talking about doing is they have different alterations on the map that happen with time. Because when you play the game, you get to about 6 months later, you know, it's snowy, it's cold, all the car batteries are dead because that's what happens to car batteries if you never run them and you go through winters. A lot of the batteries will die because of trickle charges or trickle drain and all that. So there's all that kind of stuff. But if you just start at 6 months later, they do weather things and do all sorts of stuff. And they did talk about potentially there's going to be they have a challenge map that they haven't released that's years after the zombie apocalypse kicked off. But there's stuff that they want to add to the game to support making that gameplay fun, because right now they feel there's not enough survival stuff you can do without any technology still around that would still support it. Because the idea with the, like, years later is just almost all the resources would be gone. And can I make this work? Alright, so this is why driving over zombie bodies at any speed is a problem. The reason that happened is I have way too many zombie corpses piled up here, and it's going about 25-30 over them. And as a result, I got enough speed that we ramped on them. The zombie physics when you run over corpses is kind of crap. So you don't drive fast. That's the reason I was talking about slow down. This is one of those heed my advice. Yeah, no, I can fix it. I just have to go back and get one of my other cars. I'm sure someone clipped that, and I deserve it. Honestly, of all the times I've been playing this game, because I do tend to be meticulous and slow about how I do things, That's the third vehicle in several, like, well, I say several thousand, like 1,200-ish hours. That's only like the third vehicle I've gotten off of its wheels. And that's the first one I think I've actually gotten stuck. Because I had one that I jumped and then we landed perfectly fine. I had one that I kind of... So it started jump, turned on its side, and then rotate around, and I banged the back into a tree. And it was fine, like we damaged the trunk, whatever. And then that third one we just tipped on its side. It's a more like a one lifestyle game. The thing I will tell you is there's two ways you can play the game. There's rogue light and rogue like. And for those who don't know the difference of those terms, rogue like means each time you start a new character, it's like a brand new game. Nothing carries forward. It's like fresh start, absolutely starting over. Rogue light means some things carry over, so there is some progression outside your characters. And the way you play the two different modes is if you want rogue-like, every time you make a character, you make a new world. And a lot of people play that way. I'm one of those who plays that way. But there are people who like, no, if I take the time to build a base, I want to keep my base. And if you do that, where you keep playing new characters in the same world, then it's rogue-lite. Because if you build a base, the base is still there. You can go hunt down the previous zombie version of yourself and go kill them. And this is honestly the worst part of this whole thing where I've tipped over that vehicle, where I wanted to be pushing into town doing all that. Instead, I have to take a walk of shame the whole way back home. So, that's where we are now. Oh, I have many, many backup cars. But yeah, I do have a backup car in Riverside, but I have something like 7 drivable cars at the gas station now, maybe 8. Some more drivable than others, but all of them drivable enough to go nudge that. Normally, so I have been doing a challenge right now, which is maximum zombie pop that the map or the game supports, which you wouldn't look like it, but keep in mind I have killed 44,000 zombies in the map. So, to give you an idea, like, everywhere I went along here, I was killing in groups of, like, 20 and whatever. Red Slaughter says, so would a preventative measure for this to not kill them in such a dense Congo line? So the ways to prevent that problem is, 1, I take the bodies off of the road. Yeah, Pro Dr. Hamster. In this setting, I have the respawn turned off, but by default, they do respawn. But this particular run, we have it turned off. But so I could kill them. So it's not necessarily that they were in a Congo line that was the problem, Red Sloth. It's that there's too many bodies in an area. So even if I put all the bodies in one single frame, like I would roll it, hit that, and it'd be like hitting a launch pad. Just it would launch your car up on the side. So the choices are, 1 is I get the zombies off the road enough that I can drive through without going across their corpses, or to drive slower. Yeah, and there's a lot of people who do those kinds of sayings. No Strings. No String is saying, I turn off zombie respawn and turn on zombie decay to 72 hours. Because by default, the zombie corpses last 9 in-game days from when you kill them to when they despawn. And when I say 9 days, it's like exactly 9 days. I've actually had many times where I'll be killing a pack of zombies where I had been there like 9 days before, and I'll watch the bodies disappear one by one in a row, and I'm like, yep, I can see the exact timing. I killed all those zombies 9 days ago. Oh, I can see I missed a swing. That zombie took longer to kill. But yeah. So like the answer is like, you see how this zombie's over on the side of the road? Normally when I do a lot of playthroughs, I'll take the time to do that. We've gotten to the point there's just so many zombies, I'm like, I can't bother. And then plus, we have all these trees growing. The trees will grow more and more as the game goes on, and they're starting to get really dense along the edges of the road. And that makes it harder to know if there's zombies on their side, and trees are a very fast way to get yourself killed from zombies you can't see. That's okay. We'll just pretend that entire rolling over my prized vehicle was not a mistake, it was science. Someone recorded the results, right? Because that's the difference between goofing off and science is you record the results. It doesn't mean it's good science, to be clear. Like, you can have absolutely terrible science, but it is in fact science. That's not actually fully factually true, but it's a fun quote. But still, if you record the answers, you potentially learn something. I learned that the thing I already knew not to do, that I did, not to do it. And I learned that lesson quite often in this game. The mechanics scare me more than the game itself. Oh, like the mechanics of figuring out the game, like learning the game kind of thing? I can see that. Oh my god, we are so far down here. Oh. This is what I get for not taking the time to kill them off the road. Or when I do have to kill them off the road, dragging them off the road. There is a good chance if we hadn't rolled the truck, we would actually be getting access to the Rosewood gas station today. Or if we didn't get access to it, get really close. Because we're only like 1 block away from it, so far as actual space. So that's pretty annoying. Brendan says, how much time are you wasting walking back here once versus the time you would have spent drawing all the zombies off the road? You are correct. I probably am wasting less time on this one day I'm losing walking than I would be if I took the time to draw them out. And also, as you can see from like places like this, I can't go to the side of this road safely. Like, if I go to the side of this road and there's a zombie in those trees, like this zombie chilling right here, I can be grabbed before I get a chance to react, and it's run over. Which is the reason why when we got to these zombie pops, I started just kind of killing them in the middle of the road for the most part. Which is like the last place you should do it so far as the vehicles are concerned. But it's the safest place so far as staying away from trees is concerned. Am I at that time of year that I finally do need to start taking off clothing? Because we are constantly staying sweaty. Oh, hell with it. I almost never run. This is me not following my own advice. I want to see how fast you go towards, like, Sunstruck is what I'm testing here. Because if it's fast, I'm going to strip off some clothes. That said, we're doing a good job not hitting exerted. Do you ever do the right-click walk to speed up trick? No, I don't do that because imagine if I do like the walk to here and then I speed up and there's a zombie in that tree. I may already be in, like, too late to stop the speed up. I have lost a lot of characters to speed up. So I generally don't speed up. Because, like, that's the things that get you killed in this game, is any level of impatience, being stubborn, running around. Like, right now, I shouldn't be running. I'm actually surprised we're not exerted yet. In all honesty, I would expect to be exerted by now. But, like, I have lost a lot of deaths to speeding up. Okay, So this tells me I can flat out get to overheated before exerted. Yeah, now I'm actually experimenting to see how far I get before I hit exerted, if I can get to sunstruck before I hit exerted. You know, this isn't the place I should be experimenting. Okay. So you can see like how many layers of clothing got soaked and wet from just how sweaty we were getting because of just how much we're wearing. Whistlebeak was saying, and I should, well, I was like, Whistlebeak was saying, better take off some gear if you're going to go running. Yep, nope, I was deliberately kind of getting a feel for how fast it overheat. I'll go, so have you seen the thing with the garden chair? I think Royal Cheese started. Yeah, where you take, it's a, was it a 5 kilogram garden chair you put in your backpack, and then as you get to the point where you're like, oh, starting to get exerted, and you plop down the chair and then you rest at it, and then you start moving again after you've rested. I messed with it a little bit. I haven't done it too much because usually I'm doing so much fighting. I would rather just snap out a hunting knife and keep fighting than stop and rest, personally. I don't think it's a bad strategy though. I think it's an excellent strategy. I do partly wish, not partly wish, I do partly think it should be a thing though that that what we end up doing is making it so to rest in a chair you have to sit. I personally think your character should have to sit or lay down to rest. Like to quote unquote rest, not like there's a difference between me standing still to recover stamina and like actually legitimately like sitting down and like tipping your head back and be like, all right, let's chill, let's relax, let's catch our breath. And I do feel like they should have it where to get the benefit of resting, you should be sitting by nature. Because like it's also weird that you can do the thing where you sit down next to a chair and rest, and it like, you know, that's a thing. And to be clear, I don't think it's like unfair or whatever. Like that, it's totally fine. It's in mechanics. Like, you'll notice up here I have an intersection where I have a bar stool just sitting in the intersection. It's the same idea. It was a chair I would go back to recover stamina. And I too did not sit in it. Because, you know, I'm gonna, oh, whatever. I won't learn my lesson. I'll leave the corpses in the road. But I do kind of feel like you should have to sit in it, where you should have to make that evaluation of, okay, I can stand next to this chair and it doesn't do anything. But, sitting in there, it's like, okay, if I sit next to this chair, I'm really close to the tree line, where I only get a couple seconds to get up before it's too late. So, oh man, I forgot how long this walk is. You get so spoiled when you use cars, for the record. And the thing is, like, this road, we cleared this little by little. Like, these zombies are not representative of how much we've killed on this road, because we've been doing this well over 9 days, so the first wave of zombies we killed are all gone. Like, we've killed several thousand zombies on our push out here to Rosewood. So it is one of those things that it is just a slog where we push block by block by block a little bit farther each day. And then you get back to the point like this where there's just nothing back here anymore of meaningful amount. I think we're doing more running today than I've probably done the entire rest of the time we played this playthrough. Because I'm legitimately worried we're not going to actually reach home to like 6, 7 in the morning. And it could be a helicopter day or whatever and just be in trouble. But to give you an idea how little sprinting we have, we are at sprinting 1. It is our 3rd lowest skill of all of our skills we have. Only thing lower than that is first aid and trapping. Trapping, which we've just never done. And then first aid, where we've only done like 2 things. Alright, so I'm going to go walk 2. Because I just realized I never turned on the labels again. Because those are our current objectives. As we're trying to reach Rosewood to get our foothold there. For now, I'm probably just going to get my foothold at the gas station. Generally speaking, the way I do this run is I have my main base at Ekron. And the reason I choose Ekron is it's like people are like, oh, you're choosing this location again. Unfortunately for this run, the way I look at it, there's 2 ways to approach it. One is you have a central location that is your go to and from where you store all of your stuff for long term while you clear out the rest of the map, of which you'd want a central location. Well, there is only one central location on the map that has gas and water, and that's the Ekron gas station. That's the entire list. There isn't a second one. So, if you want gas and water, that's literally the only time. It does, but sometimes it doesn't give you enough time to react. I've gotten in trouble using it. And then plus sometimes like you'll do walk 2 in the middle of the road and your character will kind of do this thing and they'll get right to that tree and then they'll do this thing where they'll adjust. And for those few seconds, like that there was too close to the tree to be safe, really. Yeah, and I keep telling myself that while I'm at base and there's no reason not to, I should run around. For situations that there are times running around is what you want to do. Alright. We're still a long way from home. We're still a long, long way from home. Because those, I believe, are the southern farm area that I got my first weapons from when I did this playthrough. Which means just north of it up here would be the ice cream parlor. And just north of that is the road that goes to where my stool is. El Goso, I turned it on its side. I wasn't, like, I was only going like 25, 30 miles per hour, but I went over a pretty big pile of zombie corpse. And, yeah. So, Sergeant, I actually am using the unemployed occupation. So you see, like, here where it says unemployed. And then the traits I start with is I start with weak, obese, unfit, and slow healer as my negatives. So we start with, you know, 0 strength, 0 fitness, 0 combat skills, 0 agility, 0 anything, no bonuses to the rate we train anything. Like, we start with nothing. I refer to this as a 0 to hero build. Yep, yeah, now we have 4 doctorates. We claimed those by going into the pharmacy with a crowbar, so where most people go to school for, 8 solid years of university, then they do their residency, and they go through that whole process, my character said, screw all that, walked into the pharmacy with a crowbar in hand, and walked out with a doctorate in surgery and a doctorate in just being a doctor. Then did that again at another pharmacy. So we have 2 just general doctorates and 2 doctorates of surgery. So, we are a very successful doctor. But, so I have all those negatives. And then the positives I take is I take Cat's Eye, which helps me see in the dark a little bit. Dexterous, which helps me loot faster. Outdoorsman, which lets me ignore certain weather conditions, like it's only the really bad stuff that becomes dangerous to us. Wakeful means I don't need as much sleep, so that's getting its mileage right now. Lucky, which basically, there's a lot of stuff it does, but the big one is just think more loot. And you've got enough to know why it has value. Eagle Eye makes the cone that we see much wider. At the moment, it's slowly getting narrower because as we get more and more tired, that cone will keep getting narrower until we can't see behind us anymore and things get sketch. Fast Learner, which means we level a little bit shy of twice as fast. Keen Hearing, which means the circle behind us is about 1.5 times to 2 times the size it normally is. And that's to simulate your ability to hear. So, like, you hear the zombie stepping up behind you. So even though you haven't seen it, it's close enough. You're like, oh, it's right there. Like, I can hear it. You have organized, which lets me fit a little bit more stuff in, like, car trunks and backpacks and cabinets. And then thick skin, which gives me the tiny, tiny chance that when I take an injury, I'll take a less severe version of that injury, or I won't take an injury at all. And I don't know the exacts behind thick skin. People have done the math who are much smarter than I am about it. All I know is it's the teeniest, tiniest chance I get out of jail when I take an injury. And I know, like, people be like, but that's not effective use of points. Thick skin is 8 points, and if you sit there and you take an injury, that's already a problem. You can use those 8 points for something more meaningful, such as taking a lesser penalty. And you right. But at the same time, I like to go with it. Now, part of the reason I do this is, one, I like the zero to hero build. I like where your character starts and they struggle and everything is difficult and it takes forever and you can't really do anything. Yeah, but forget metal all. Sorry, I missed it. It's all good. But one I actually think can happen is the weak, unfit, and obese. You can fix those. Now that said, this is not a good build. It's objectively not a good build. It's not me saying it's not a good build for beginners or it's not a good build for veterans. It is objectively not a good build no matter who you are. The time it takes to fix the negative traits, like, we might finish this challenge and still not be at fitness 10. I'm thinking we will be, but there's a good chance not. So that gives you an idea of how long it takes to level fitness up. Or I could start with really high fitness and not even worry about it. Angie says, I'm trying to say thick skin is okay because, hey, maybe your character is just tough. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we started out as obese. It's just, you got like this extra dense layer of skin to try and hold that all back. No, I'm teasing. It is what it is. Like, our character is exceedingly talented. Just really wasn't taking care of themselves before the zombie apocalypse. And also, for whatever reason, didn't apply those talents or educate themselves or anything. Like, because they didn't have a trade, they didn't have any skill set, they weren't good with any weapons, they weren't agile or fit or anything in any way. They just kind of got naturally good stuff so they could see in the dark and all that. Alright, I mean, we are at very tired, and I'm still killing stuff without a problem doing the execution. Question, is there any downside to leaving clean bandages on cleaned wound? No. There's no negative. The bandages will eventually get dirty, but it won't hurt you. I mean, I will say one thing that I won't actually say, like, I try to avoid the ageist kind of jokes, like the ones against millennials and boomers and zoomers and whatever else you want to call them. Because while there are certain paradigms that you will find commonality, it's the same type of thing with stereotyping that, okay, even if it is a subset of the group that are like that, it doesn't matter. You can't individually single people out in that because it does make a negative stereotype, which leads to bias, which leads to prejudice, which leads to all that crap. So I try to avoid that kind of thing, even though, if I'm being entirely honest, I do have biases when it comes to the way people in certain age groups have responded to certain things. That said, I, sitting here, am a millennial. And I have to listen quite often to have people talk down to me. It's like, those millennials, and they do those things. And I'm like, those lazy people you're talking about, one of them's your boss. I can't tell you how many tech conferences I went to where people were like bad-mouthing millennials, and you're just like, dude, You're sitting at a table of millennials. What are you doing? Like, you have people all over the spectrums. Yeah, and I do think I'm going to sit there and say at this point, let's, like, not pull out the generation card anymore so far as, like, calling people the worst or saying those people or those kind or they things. Because, again, that isn't productive, even though I fully admit I have biases. I do. I know I have biases. I know I see a person of a certain age group act a certain way. It's like, oh, it's one of them. And I know that's not right. It's a very difficult thing for me to deal with. Because unfortunately I've had to deal with a lot of it. But yeah. It's just the same reason why when people bring up like the Karen jokes and all that, I'll usually shut those down, partly because, you know, it is a little unfair. There are certainly those people out there. I have absolutely worked around them and had to deal with them. Many times, especially when I worked in retail and hospitality. At the same time, I also know there's a lot of people who actually have the name Karen who are like, please stop. Like, stop using my name kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Exactly what Tony's saying. Life's too short. I don't mind comedy, but keep it kind. And that's like one of the rules I have with the channel is you like be respectful. Like I don't care how much people disagree. Like if you can't approach a conversation with respect or at least giving the person the benefit of the doubt, you're not going to get anywhere. Now don't get me wrong, if the person shows up and they're flying swastikas and whatever, they've already removed the benefit of the doubt. Like you're past that point. When you are demonizing people, that is a different story. But when people just have different approaches, like, okay. And if they confirm your biases, whatever. You know, you just go, alright, well, I just won't deal with that person. Well, we're almost home. We have been walking since, what was it, like 10, 11 in the day? And we've been walking, it's now 2 a.m. the next day. Our poor character's been just walking at night the whole way home. Because she rolled her car. But yeah, it's the exact same thing, like when you hear all the things. Let's see. Alright, Sloth. I hear you're in a dilemma of choosing another game to start streaming. Anything important in the car? I mean, there's a bunch of useful supplies. Nothing dire that we'd be like super upset if we lost. There's like some tools in that, but I know where I can find extra. Yeah, so basically what happens is I try and keep more than one game on my schedule, and that's been a deliberate choice of mine. I have found other people I've watched stream for years, they'll have their game that they're a whatever streamer. And what ends up happening from what I've seen is one of kind of three things happen. The one I see the most often is they burn out of their game and just they get into this weird place where people are there to watch them play that one game. And so they feel obligated to only ever play that one game because that's what brings the viewers. And that's fair. But you can tell they are so burned out and tired of it that they really don't want to do it. And as such, the quality of their stream declines quite rapidly. And so that's one problem that I want to avoid, because that burnout gets solid and you do end up feeling super trapped in your game. The other thing I've seen is that the game that they're playing, you know, falls out of favor. That, you know, hey, they're playing, I'm just going to say Fortnite, that's not an example here, but just a random game, we'll say Fortnite. And they've been playing Fortnite for a while, and they're known for Fortnite. And then suddenly, no one plays Fortnite anymore. Like, it's, the replacement game comes out, it handily replaces Fortnite, and then you go, what do I do? And you start trying to start in a new game, and your entire channel suffers. And you'll have those people who are there to see you stream.